Thank you for giving us an empowering space to share our stories. Thank you.
It's good, guys. I got waterproof mascara. It's going to be like this all night, isn't it? Anyway, on that note, the show is ending. Over by where Jeff is, there are a pack of yellow papers. There's a stack of yellow papers over there. Yes. On these yellow papers are all of the other storytelling shows in Maricopa County. So if you are still looking for storytelling events after Chatterbox ends, you can check out one of these many shows. There's 8, I believe, listed on there, something for everyone. Check them all out. They're all amazing, ran by amazing people. Storytelling doesn't have to end here, and I really hope it doesn't for all of you, because it's a wonderful community to be a part of. All right, our next storyteller has been a regular since this show wasn't called Chatterbox. It was way before that, when it was called Yarn Ball. Put your hands together for Uvall.
Good evening, guys. My name is Uvall, and Yarn Ball. That seems like so long ago, but the story of empowerment. I guess when I started thinking about the theme, I started thinking power, but my brain works a little bit different, so I went weakness-wise. So the feel power, you kind of have to feel that weakness before that part. So a lot of my life, I've always kind of, try to balance things out. So one word would mean another to me, and kind of found the balance between those two. So for me, empowerment, I guess, just a string of stories throughout my life kind of felt, and they kind of all collected and then made an impact on my life, I guess. I guess we go back. My mother was a teenager. She was 14 when she had me, so I didn't have the greatest starter kit to my life. So I kind of bounced around a lot, went through a lot of sorrow, pain, and kind of found my way into a church school. And I grew up Catholic, Lutheran, kind of bounced around, like I said. And they give you these studies for religion, and I kind of just felt, I guess, numb at that point, just having gone through a lot of things with my mother, the abandonment and all this, that I became a people pleaser. So I just kind of did what I was told to do. Wasn't really the healthiest thing for me to do, but I just kind of did it. And throughout the whole schooling, I just kind of felt myself like a video game, I guess. Well, I guess the game I'm thinking about is Pac-Man. You kind of get these guidelines. This is how I kind of thought religion was. You kind of get these guidelines, these walls, and you can go right, left, whatever. It's just a notion of control that you're supposed to have, this free will, but you're still in a box, and you still have walls. And you get older, you get another level of it, colors change, different type of obstacles, but it's the same thing over and over. So being a little kid, have this notion of my life being that way. I guess the first empowerment that I had was questioning things. And the way I got there was hearing something on cartoon. And the cartoon that I was watching was Bugs Bunny. And that gives you away my age. I'm almost 40. And I just had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to me. And so Bugs Bunny, he's up to his old shenanigans, and he says to Elmer Fudd, life's short. have some fun, and he's smoking a cigar. And he says, but don't screw it up. And those things just stuck, just stuck. And then I started questioning my outlook on religion, I guess. I started questioning a lot of things, what people told me. So that empowerment, I guess, went back to some of the church is teaching about when God closes a door, a window opens, but I think that's burglary, crawling through a window. So like, why do that? Why do that? And so from there on, I started thinking, like, what else can you do? How else can you get into these things? So I started searching for keys, just like a video game too as well, I guess. And one of the 5 keys that I found was the Bugs Bunny one. Chuck Palahniuk is one of my favorite authors. He had said to me through his books, moment to moment in your life are nothing but stories. And that stuck up with me. And I always collected my stories. I always thought back on it. Oh, I could tell this, and share with somebody and always be this way. And then the next person would probably be Tony Robbins. He gave me another key. He had said to me, all the sorrow, the pain, and all these things that you go through your life makes you a stronger person because you survived. You got through it. You're here today. Share with somebody. And that is real power, is you actually sharing somebody and making them better. And then the last person was my mother. My mother, I think it took a long time for me to kind of realize this, but she did play outside the box. She had a baby, but she took her own path. Wasn't the right ones, but made her own path, and we found each other at the end, made peace with everything. But, peace is not what we all strive for. Peace is momentary. So I think having change and all that stuff that comes with empowerment, you kind of have to shake the boat a little bit. You kind of have to think outside the box. You kind of have to ask questions and then be yourself, So I did all these things. I collected all these things. And today, like being 38 years old, I can kind of look back and I'm empowered by myself, by my mother, by Chuck Palahniuk, all these people, all these collective of stories. And I share my stuff. One of my workers had just had a baby a couple months ago, and I met him 4 years ago. He's pretty bad. He drank a lot. He did drugs a lot. And he got fired. And he called me like months later and told me, like, what should I do? I'm losing another job because of my temper. I was like, bro, you got to go to anger management. And, just start one at a time. Just count to 3, all these stories that I had gone through, I told him about. This is what helped me. This is how I got through things. And he did what I said. And he called me, like I said, a few months ago. He's like, I did what you said. I did anger management, and I'm having a baby, and I'm so happy. And that felt good. And I felt power, like going through me to other people. And I think, so Jessie, that's my time, guys. Jessie, I just want to thank you for allowing me to have a platform to share my power and my stories. And hopefully you guys will share it as well. Thank you.
Keep it going for Uvall. Our next storyteller is such a wonderful addition to our regular storytellers that we have at this show. She always brings such an incredible sense of honesty and transparency when she tells. Please help me welcome Bobbi.
Okay, good evening. Like Estevan said, my name is Bobbi. And when I started thinking about the theme empowerment, I think immediately it went to self-empowerment for me. And then, disclosure too, like the previous person, it's been an emotional day, so just a warning. But it went to self-empowerment. And then I think the phrase or the few words, acts of self-bravery came to mind too. And one of the first times I think I can really remember having a moment of really having that self-empowerment was when I was 15. I went to summer school in Boulder, Colorado. And my mom didn't know anything about it, like that I was applying for it or the application process and nothing. Just I told her that I got accepted to this program and I was interested in going, and she let me go. And I didn't know anybody where I was going. I didn't have any friends that were going to the program. I didn't know any of like the staff. I didn't know the place. I didn't know nothing. And I wanted to go, and I went. And the first day that I was there, that I flew in, got my dorm assignment and my roommate assignment and everything. And I was sitting in the room on the bed, and I was thinking, like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't know anybody. I just felt so uncomfortable. I felt out of place. I felt like, I'm just like, how am I going to do this for 6 weeks? Like, I couldn't imagine it. And I knew if I called my mom, because she's such a good mom, I knew if I called her and told her, I'm like, Mom, I don't feel right here. I don't want to be here. I knew she would like get in her ride and start driving, the 9 hours to come get me, because, she would do that. But I was like, started talking to myself, and I knew, I don't want to do that. I wanted to be there. Obviously, I had gone through the whole process of getting there. So I just told myself, you're here, you're going to stay here, and you're going to get up, you're going to go outside this room, and you're going to start talking to the first person that you see. That was my plan. And I did it. I got up, I went outside the room, and I started talking to the first person that I saw, which was my friend Mia, who I still know, 20 years later, and still consider her a really good friend. And she thought I was her roommate later on. Like, she didn't know why this random person just started talking to her. And I told her, later on. But that was like one of the first moments that I can remember just kind of really talking myself through something, I think. And, later on through my life, I can remember similar moments. A couple of years later, I graduated from high school, and I was 17. And I started college at U of A in Tucson, and I had never visited. I didn't go on college visits like a lot of students do nowadays. I went to U of A. The first time that I went there, moved into the dorm, was the first time that I saw the campus. Been to Tucson, never had been to Tucson before either. And, had those similar, like, what am I doing? What am I going to do here? But just really talking myself through it, because again, like, I always knew I would go to college. This is something that I always knew, like, I wanted to do. Another time, rewinding back real quick, when I was a junior in high school, I went to DC on my own for another program, and went without a chaperone as a 16-year-old to DC from this tiny little town on the reservation, and flew to DC to Reagan Airport, and had to find like my program, my sponsors, and everything. And looking back, I'm like, what was I doing? Like, I always think if I had a kid, I'm like, I would not have let her go, to DC on her own. And my mom was always hesitant about letting me go do stuff, but, I'm thankful that she let me do those things. And then just throughout, like my 20s and my 30s, I just think I've always been a person, when I think back to it, I've always been a person that has enjoyed events. I've always enjoyed going to things. I've always enjoyed connecting with people. And I remember in my hometown growing up, we had a trading post, and in the trading post, there was a big bulletin board. They don't have a lot of those anymore. Like, a lot of people don't have bulletin boards with flyers on there, but we had a huge bulletin board with all these events, and I always remember looking at it. And then going into my 30s and going into the city, I still like to go to events, but my options just got wider because there's so many events going on in the city, like great events like this. And my poor boyfriend, he's always working, but on his days off, I would be like, oh, we can go do this in the morning, and then we can go do this in the evening. And I would just like fill up his days until I had to like scale back and be like, okay, let him, enjoy his day off. And then my poor siblings would be getting texts from me, excuse me. And I would be like, hey, this is going on. Do you want to check it out with me? And poor guys are probably just like getting texts from me all the time. And then I kind of like had to take a step back, and then I would still text them stuff, but then I would say, I would have a little like this